Candace Carricart with the Miami Moms Collective. I'm here today with Dr. Fernando Mendoza. He is the medical director for Baptist Hospital for the Pediatric Emergency Department. Hey, Dr. Mendoza.
Good morning, Candace.
I'm so happy you're here. Talking about a very important topic.
Right.
I have 4 children myself. I've done swim lessons, and I've often wondered if I'm always taking the right track. I wondered if today you could give us some statistics or some information that may help our audience understand how dangerous the swimming pool and water can actually be.
Right. So it's a great question. It's great you're being very proactive about water safety. And I'm really happy Miami Moms is delving into this topic. So really quick, just for starters, drowning is the #1 cause of accidental death in kids 1 to 4 years of age in Florida and in Miami-Dade County. That's actually enough to fill and the amount that we actually have in Florida and Miami-Dade County are about enough to fill 3 to 4 preschool classrooms every year. So it's quite impactful in our community.
God, when you think of it like that. If you had to say like the #1 thing that you would tell new families and how to protect their children around water, what comes to mind?
Supervision is the most important thing that parents can have. And I'm talking about supervision at all times around any body of water, whether it's bathtubs and you're bathing your little baby who's barely learning how to sit up, open toilet bowls, buckets of water for cleaning, wading swimming pools, those little ones you buy kind of really cheaply at like Walmart or whatever, real pools, lakes, boats, and even more importantly is bodies of water in situations that are not your home. You go to auntie's house, you go to grandma's house, you go to the friend's house who's going to have a party, or you're just going to go visit to have a coffee and just talk and catch up because you really want to get out of the house because man, you've been cooped up with the kids during COVID or just for the week, and you want to have your daily your weekly coffee with your friend, and they don't have kids, or you want to visit the mother-in-law or the grandparents and they have a pool or maybe even a koi pond or something that you don't even realize. Supervision is 100% the best way to prevent drownings, and drowning is a 100% preventable accident. That's the really sad part about it.
Yeah. That makes me realize that I don't always ask my friends, just do a quick check on if they have any water in their property. I will do that now. Thank you.
Yep.
What's your experience or your opinion about swimming classes for kids? How early would you start them? And any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the earlier the better. I mean, the American Academy of Pediatrics used to recommend 4 and up, and really that's not realistic for families that have access to water like we do in Florida,
right.
Primarily in Miami-Dade County and Palm Beach and Broward County. In Broward County, Palm Beach, and Miami-Dade lead the state in drowning deaths. So now the AP has kind of revised their recommendations really as soon as they're neurodevelopmentally appropriate. So sitting up, rolling over, really 8 to 9 months.
Wow.
Is early enough to get in with a mommy and me kind of situation. But swimming lessons do not, kind of correlate with swimming proficiency. So just because a kid's in swimming lessons doesn't mean they're okay to be alone anywhere in the pool. Most of the initial swimming lessons that go on with instructors are all about safety and about survival. So the first swimming lessons when they're a few months old, a year old or 2 year old, is basically how do you get to the edge of the pool and get out. So that's really the focus of the initial swimming lessons. But as long then it's kind of a double-edged sword. When kids get in swimming lessons, they get comfortable and having fun because they want to make it fun, right? Fun with mom and dad in the water. Then they get comfortable in water, so they'll be more exploratory. They're doing what toddlers do, and toddlers 2 to 4 years of age are going to go explore. They're going to go see a pool. Oh, I was with mom swimming, the other day, or I was at a friend's pool, or with dad in the pool. We had a great time. I'm going to go explore that pool now, or that lake, or that beach. So you got to be really careful that the level of comfort and attraction to water will also go up with swimming lessons.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything that you would say to an adult who is not comfortable around water or doesn't swim well themselves? I know your specialty is really pediatrics.
Absolutely. Do not put yourself in a situation where you cannot rescue or attend to a child in the water. If there's any adult, there's a lot of households that have nannies or caregivers in the house. Do not rely on that person to supervise your children or any child who's near or in or around water, because if they cannot save or rescue or feel comfortable in the water, it's going to be to put 2 people in danger, and it's really going to be tragic.
Thank you for that. Now, if we are around our children in the water, and sometimes I feel I have to admit that supervision for me doesn't always mean that my eyes are always on the child. As my children have gotten older, I will now be correcting that behavior. If we think there might be a child in trouble, what does drowning look like?
Well, first of all, drowning does not look like anything you see in the movies or on TV. Drowning is silent, it's quiet, and the next thing you see is a kid at the bottom of the pool. But you typically will see, if you're actually witnessing a drowning, it's typically a very quiet event. It's someone who's almost doggy paddling or struggling to get out of get their head above water and slowly sinking down, or there's a struggle that tends to be very quiet. So when you talk about supervision and not being, visually, supervision means 100%, not 98%, not 96%, not most of the time, not almost always, eyes on the kids. And when you're in the pool with a kid, especially a kid who's not very proficient in swimming, it's arm's length. I mean, I'm able to touch you and reach you and get you, because if you're across the pool or the beach or whatever, and someone is more than a few arm lengths away, and they go into the water, you're already in a drowning situation.
Right. Eyes on the children 100%.
Absolutely. So another recommendation is there's a lot of pool parties, especially this time of year, right? And in Florida, we really have pool parties almost year round, except for a couple of months. If you're really going to have a lot of people at the party, and there's going to be kids of varying swimming capacity or capabilities rather, consider hiring a real lifeguard for the party.
Absolutely.
Consider, instead of having dad who's flipping the burgers and keeping an eye, or having buddy, because adults are also if there's drinking or alcohol involved, that increases the risk of drowning because adults are becoming more relaxed and complacent. So that's something we see frequently. We'll see parties as a typical scenario. There's a couple of real common scenarios we see, and we'll see this. We're seeing this throughout the summer, and it's really even before Memorial Day and through Labor Day. A couple of scenarios. Number one is there's a party, it's a birthday party or a barbecue or something, and everyone's doing something else, and someone told someone else, someone thought somebody else was watching the kids, and that's where you have the drowning and someone slipped under the water in the pool. The other situation is they go to a house where they're not familiar, and there's no alarms on the doors, there's no water sensors in the pool for splash or motion, and you turn around and you look around, and the kid has wandered off, opened the door, sliding glass door, or the French door, and gone to the pool. So those are kind of the most common scenarios we've seen.
And if you come across somebody who is drowning or is at the bottom of the pool, what action do we take?
Well, if you're proficient and if you are safe and feeling, and you're able to swim, get the kid out of the water ASAP. Just pull them out of the water.
Okay.
Call 911 and begin CPR, which leads me to say, if you have small children, you should know at least basic CPR. How to do compressions, how to clear the airway, how to, but number one thing is call 911, get 911 there ASAP.
And do the rules change, or is there anything else we should know about being in open water with their families?
Absolutely. So big boating culture, whether you're in lakes or on the ocean or at the beach. So let's talk about boats, for example. There's a law in the state of Florida that if you're under 16, while the boat is under motion, underway, you have to have a PFD, personal flotation device. And admittedly, most people don't adhere to that. But even over the age of 16, you can't help your children if you get knocked out of a boat and you're running across the bay or Biscayne Bay and you don't have a PFD. So there's certainly you want to make sure all your children have PFDs all the time when the boat is running. And then when you're in the water, if you anchor it up somewhere, be cognizant the same rules apply. Even more so because water can be murky. You can at a sandbar, or you're diving or doing something like that, things can get a little bit hairy. So make sure that those kids always have PFDs. And PFDs, by the way, personal flotation devices, are not water wings. They're not little tubes around. They're really the real Coast Guard approved, age appropriate, buckled, zippered up PFDs that are meant to keep the child upright and the head above water. So the main purpose of PFDs is just to keep the kid's head above water so you can find them, and then your man overboard or someone missing doesn't turn into a death. It's just you're recovering somebody after a few minutes or something like that.
The last question I would ask is for my pool at home, or for anybody in our audience, what steps can we take in our home pools or any of the water sources in our yard that would secure them as best as possible?
Okay, so first and foremost, you want to be alerted. Aside from supervision, you want to be alerted to whether anybody's entered the pool, right? So you want to prevent anybody getting into the pool. So pool fences up. I told this anecdote. I wouldn't go over to my mom's house when my kids were young until she had the pool fence up and installed, and that kind of was a point of contention. But it was her first grandchild on our side, but I was insistent upon that. So pool fences up, closed, and latched. The best ones are the ones that self-latch and self-close around the pool. Better, so that's important. Realize that pool fences are intended to dissuade and delay entry into a pool. A smart toddler will pull pool furniture up to the side and climb over the pool fence in no time. Okay. first and foremost, the pool fence. Second of all, I would really use 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of alertness. So if you have the alarms on your sliding glass doors that you can have when they're open. So when you're home, you're cooking, or you're in the bathroom, or doing something, we've seen that a few times before also, where the toddler wakes up from their nap. Oh, this little Jimmy's napping. They walk out, they open up, they jump into the pool, and mom was doing something else, thinking their child was taking a nap. So alarms on the doors are important, especially at a certain age. Motion sensors in the water that that really alarm, and now they have things that are linked to your phone or to your home alarm system that really shriek very loudly. The minute a splash, whether it could be a dog or a kid, it doesn't matter. But you run out, you see your kids there, you can pull them out. So those kind of some of the measures that are out there to help you at least prevent kids getting into the pool, and then alert you once they're in the pool when you're not supposed to be.
I truly think this might be one of the most important topics that the Miami Moms Collective has covered. Is there anything else that you would add that I haven't asked yet?
Teenagers. Let's not forget about teenagers. So one of the things we see, there's 2 spikes in drownings in Florida. The young one is the highest, but then you see teenagers, especially adolescent boys, are very adventurous risk takers. So swimming in lakes, diving off of trees, going out in the boat, educating your teenage boys or teenagers in general about the hazards. There's also going to be some alcohol involved, especially in the later teenage years, as they start to explore alcohol and drugs, and that can be a source of problems with swimming, of course. But teenage boys are going to want to one up each other and do the dare and swim across the lake, which we've seen. And even if they're expert swimmers, they get tired, and that's how we see the lake drownings and the boating accidents. So teenagers, do not stop having this conversation. You have your sex conversation with your kids. You have drugs. You have alcohol. Water safety. It's 100% preventable, which is really the saddest part about it. But don't forget about those teenagers.